Okay, you guys, so I've seen a lot of people doing videos like this where they're going over their minimalist camera rig, and that's what I'm going to do here today and showcase to you some of the equipment that I use for my everyday run and gun filmmaking, and I'll provide links to everything in this video down in the description. So to start off, we'll talk about the main chunk of filmmaking, your camera, right? So I currently shoot on the Sony a6400. I have not upgraded to an FX cinema line. I would love to get the FX30, but it's pretty expensive and the prices on Sony cameras just went up in the US, so it makes it even harder to get a hold of. But this shoots 4K 30, so this is a really good camera to use for photography and filmmaking as well. So it's still a solid camera body, and I love this thing to death. It's created a lot of content and a lot of films, honestly, short film work and pictures and everything. And unattached to it, I have a small rig cage, because if you're a filmmaker doing camera rigs, you got to have a small rig cage, just so you can attach all your various things to the cage and to kind of protect your camera at the same time. And it adds some extra cold shoe mounts on there, so it's really nice. Please excuse the dust. I took everything off. I've got a nice little wooden handle attached to it for grip. Really nice, and I like the wood aesthetic, so that's just kind of a style choice. You do have the rubber ones and stuff like that, but that's kind of what I like to run and gun with, because it makes me feel cooler to use the camera, and I like the wood. It has more grip, it doesn't get as slippery. And then what I usually do is I add on my lens, and what I have been using a lot lately for cinematic filmmaking is my Siroi 24mm T1.2. These lenses are really amazing. I really like the focal length of a 24mm on a crop sensor, just because it gives me the equivalent of a 35mm on a full frame. So that's something that I really like the look of with 35mm focal lengths. It just looks really good to me. It's a preference thing, and it's just a focal length that I really like. And these lenses are really great for the price, and they produce really great images. And on top of that, I throw on lens filters on almost everything that I shoot. Photos, videos, films, there's always some kind of filter on. And lately, I have been using the Tiffin Glimmer Glass. I normally used to use the Black Pro Mist, but there's something about the Glimmer Glass that gives that analog, like, film feel and blooms the highlights without really destroying the contrast and the blacks of your image. It's really nice. The black levels stay pretty consistent. It doesn't destroy the contrast as much, and like I said, it still gives you that bloom that you're kind of looking for. And so I've got that up on an adapter, and yep, that is ready to make some really cinematic images. Now, on top of that, I do also run with a top handle. And as you can see, I've got a microphone attached to this top handle, because this is kind of how I shoot. I don't like to have it up top. This is just kind of the style that works for me. I've got the Comica VM40 shotgun microphone mounted on here with a nice little friction arm from Small Rig, I believe. And this is just kind of my easy right-handed way to get everything going and have good audio at the same time, because this shotgun mic records internally, and it records in 32-bit float. Also works wirelessly with a transmitter, or like how a lot of times I have it, I just have it connected directly into the input jack on my camera, and it automatically turns on and off with my camera, and it records straight to the video files on my camera, and I've got really good audio coming in, super simple, just like that. And if I really want to, I can record internally at the same time to have a backup, and it records on 32-bit float. So all of you audio nerds know the significance of 32-bit float. So it's a really good audio solution. On top of that, I gotta have a monitor. So I use the Viltrox here. This is the DC550 Lite. I really like it. It works really well for my needs. Obviously, it's a little dirty, but it gets the job done. D-squeeze, it's got aspect ratio crops, it's got LUTs that you can load on there, all the bells and whistles, you know, false color, all the things that you would ever want in a monitor. This thing does it for a pretty decent price compared to what some of the other monitors can be. And then I've got that on a small rig monitor adapter just into the cold shoe side of my small rig top handle. And then look, we're already a good way there with a nice little filmmaking cinematic rig. All we got left to do is to attach this to the camera. So unfortunately, there's not a full HDMI port on the A6400, but we've got this mini HDMI. I route it up through the other side of my top handle here and around, and get it up underneath the monitor here and get it plugged in right there, and we're good to go. And that is how I kind of watch everything that I'm recording. You know, you got all your fun stuff with your monitor, and bam, look at that. Cinema rig right there, super easy. Can do some crazy good shots and make sure you're seeing what you need to see, exposing correctly with false color, all the fun stuff with your Viltrox monitor, and you're good to go. Now, in addition to the camera and the shotgun microphone, I have two other pieces of gear that I use a lot. So the first one here is the Ceramic Ultra wireless mic kit. Now, I use this all the time in tandem with this. A lot of times the VM40 is for scratch, or if I'm setting up an interview, I'll set this up over the top of my my subject for like a boom. But if I'm doing stuff myself or just need to record something somewhere, the Ceramic Ultra is really great because it also records internally to these microphones. You can plug in lavaliers if you would like, and they record in 32-bit float. So that is a really huge plus, and I really like these a lot. I used to use the Holley Landmark Max a lot, but the fact that this has 32-bit float is kind of a big game changer, so I tend to take this around a lot more. Plus, I have the charging case for the Ceramic Ultra. I don't for the Holley Landmark Max. I just have the single mic version, but this thing is great. It's got USB-C connectors here. It's got the iPhone connector there if you need to, so you can adapt it to your phones, whatever you need, and you got good audio wherever you go. And I've got it doubled up, obviously, two microphones, so I have everything covered. And when I need to plug this in to my camera, I just use the same 3.5 cable there. So the last thing that I use in a lot of stuff, especially inside, is this now. I used to use a different brand, but I have now since switched to the Smoke Ninja Pro. And this thing is just a handheld fog machine. I'm sure you've seen a lot of creators and filmmakers using it. It's really awesome. I think it's top of the line in terms of smoke machines and fog machines, and it does really well, gets the job done, and allows you to add that haze and atmosphere to your shots, especially if you're inside. Outside, it can be a bit tricky, especially if it's windy and stuff, but this thing is kind of a go-to for most of my work to give that like cinematic feel. And yeah, so that's kind of my main build. It's not the greatest in the world. I make do with what I've got, and I kind of consider it a pretty budget cinema rig, but I produce some really cool stuff with it, I think, and they get the job done. So yeah, that's kind of my minimalist cinema camera rig with a non-cinema camera. So if you're interested in any of the pieces of equipment that I talked about today, I'll leave a link down in the description for everything you see here so you can pick it up for yourself. And yeah, if you got any questions, leave them down in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Stay cinematic, my friends.